Hello and welcome to DDOCast, episode 686, recorded the weekend of September 11th. I'm your host, Patrick. Joining me for the back half of the show will be the second half of our review of Update 55 with Voodoo Spice. We like to talk about Dungeons & Dragons online nearly every weekend. You can catch us through Twitch, YouTube, the DDO forums, iTunes, or from our website at DDOcast.com. DDOcast is hosted by Cyber Ears, the awesome podcast hosting network, and shows are usually available within a few days of recording. There will not be a show next week, so we expect to come back. Is that the week of the 25th? 24th, somewhere in that. You can stay updated by following us on social media. At DDOcast on Twitter is the best place. Or you can follow us at DDOcast.com with our calendar. On the podcast this week, I'm going to cover the news really quick. There's not a whole lot going on, but I want to make sure we get a show out because we won't have one next week. And like I said, we'll have part 2 of our review of Update 55 with Voodoo on the back end of this. So for game news, we did have a hotfix this week, Update 56, hotfix number 2. And this was to begin to correct some of the things. It doesn't fix all of the things, but, kind of gets us on the way. So this was released on Thursday, September 8th. They fixed a crashing issue that could happen when selling gems. I don't know why gems, but gems apparently was the thing that was killing it. Then we also had, there was some erroneous duplicate consumable and other items mailed to players through the reincarnation system. Players can now remove these erroneous items from the inventories or banks, and they can now be detached from character mail. This was causing some issues, but it seems like they got fixed now. Items that became invisible in players' character banks, shared banks, and reincarnation caches are now visible again. Note, when you first log in after this game update, all items and all custom bank tabs will have been moved back into the main tab as a result of this fix. So you have to redo that work. Sorry. That's a bummer. This is why I didn't. With all the issues we're having, I didn't bother using the tabs for sort of this reason. Players who became stuck in the reincarnation process after the release of Update 56 can now complete the reincarnations. That's fantastic. They have removed the ability to create a character that is both an iconic and an archetype through an unintended method during initial game character generation. You're not supposed to be able to do that. The iconics, you can't use the archetypes, at least not in the current ones. Maybe in the future, not right now. Additional bank space earned in-game through favor rewards are now properly retained through lesser and epic reincarnations. Guys, come on. Yes, that's good. Just don't understand how that happens. Anyways, known issues. So this is related to the fix with the invisible items. Items cannot be dragged from a main tab directly into a custom tab in the character and shared account banks and reincarnation caches. So this is to fix this is why they were going invisible. So this is intended to correct that, or at least make that not possible. So it's a workaround. It kind of reduces some of the functionality of the bank, but at least it doesn't. Stuff doesn't go invisible, and you can get it out. So that's what's going on there. A couple of PSAs. So for those using the familiars, the familiar remains active once you die. However, apparently the buff does not. You'll need to toggle the familiar off and back on again to restore the buffs after you die. This will be fixed in an upcoming patch. Also, the new House J extended aggregated buffs are incorrectly being priced at 3.5 thousand plat instead of 350 plat or 3,500 gold. Oops. Apparently, House J is also undergoing massive amounts of inflation, like much of the world. There you go. Bonus days. Double daily dice XP. That is through September 11th. So wait for that. And there it is. Also, the sales for the week. Autos boxes are in the store through September 18th. This is the final weekend to get double bonus points, along with a lesser or greater elixir of discovery with that purchase. That's available through September 12th. The sales proper is get a boost, 25% off of Sovereign XP elixirs, Treasure Hunter elixirs, Greater Slayer boosts, and long-lasting Supreme Ability potions through September 15th. Also, the weekly coupon code this week is Bell Open through September 15th as well. All right, so like I said, not a lot of news this week, and that's gonna pretty much wrap that up. So we'll get into our review with Voodoo. Let's talk about Tabaxi. Yeah, so Tabaxi, the new race. So we got Tabaxi and Tabaxi Trailblazer. What do you think about Tabaxi?
I think they're great. I think they look beautiful. I love the dances. I think they're awesome. And I want to say something to the haters out there. You know, and people are going crazy on the forum saying all kinds of bad mouth and tabaxis. And you know, like seriously, like Dungeons and Dragons, if you take any animal and combine it with a human, that creature has existed for 40 years. Tabaxi isn't some new thing that SSG created. It's been in Dungeons and Dragons since at least 1981 in this book right here. And if you don't like the way they look now in 5th edition or whatever, they look ridiculous in here. I mean, really ridiculous. Anyways, as so many of those monsters did back in the day. You know, so like if you don't like the idea of having cat people, why were you okay with hyena people, which were called gnolls, and spider people, which were called ettercaps, and you know, lizard folk, which were called lizard folk, and you know, dragon people called dragon. I mean, there's everything. That's what this game is. Every like crazy concoction of a creature you could possibly have, it has existed in this game for 40, 45 years. So Tabaxi is right out of pen and paper. I'm so glad that it's here. It's so beautiful. While I may not be playing a Tabaxi full time, you know, I've done my Tabaxi lives on one of my characters. I had fun, and yeah, I like the way they look. I can't really speak to the functionality of them too much because they just don't really fit you know, the things that I do. But I'm really glad, and I look forward to having more races too.
Yeah, it's I was a little, I wasn't sure where I was gonna land when they came out. The Tabaxi felt a little too mainy to me. Like the mains were a little much. It was it
You can
was
tone that down if you want.
no, you can. It was just, you know how like you have a preconceived notion of what a Tabaxi or what something might look like, and then you see it represented in art, and it's whoa, not what I was expecting. That was
Yeah, you know,
my
I thought it was gonna look more like the 5th edition pictures that you know, out of pen and paper, because usually that's what they do, and it looks a little bit different. No complaints. I'm just saying they do look different than a little bit different than I thought they were.
yeah, the lion mane part was what really caught me off guard. Now, it's growing on me. It's grown on me a lot. Like I don't have complaints. It was just like that was my initial reaction, like this is much more of a lion person than I was expecting it, as opposed to like a generic cat person. So that was kind of an interesting shock, as it will. I do like how they look. I like the dances. Dances look pretty good. Um, I enjoyed kind of looking at those. As far as the mechanics of them go, uh, I like the dex to damage. That's nice. That's I think a solid place to have another option for that. I really like the cat speed. Like you don't move for a bit and then you get the speed boost. I really like that. That's a fun, very 5th edition lore appropriate thing that they got. And it makes them really zoomy and really that's just a lot of fun. I really like that boost thing. So.
Another thing about them visually is their expressiveness is on a level we haven't seen before because the eyes blink. It's our first
Yeah.
character, our first model where the eyes blink and the way the eyes look and kind of look around too. They seem so much more alive and very cat-like. I got to give a special props to that.
There are limitations because of the what we were working with in terms of art and capabilities, but the art department is the last couple of years has just been doing a really great job. And again, here with Tabaxi and dinosaurs, it all looks really great, and they're continuing to do a great job with that. So that's a lot of fun. As far as like the Trailblazer, my biggest complaint, like the past life, is just really meh. So that was kind of disappointing to see, but they look great. They play fun. I enjoyed my Tabaxi lives a lot. One of my one of the newer races that probably one of the better newer races that I've played in terms of look and feel and having fun. I mean, it also kind of mixes with some of the stuff I like to play a little better, but Leg Bash wants Tortle. That could be a fun new one as well. All right, we had a request from Jumbie. Would like to hear thoughts on the heroic gear as well. I don't know how much you've played with the heroic gear out of Isle of Dread.
I like their broken bottle. I think that's a nice low B Vorpal. You can add add an augment to it. I think that's really cool. The bottle of rum.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, I think it's actually like I was a big fan of the Vorpal dagger out of Night Rebels, but I think the bottle of rum's even better because one of the nice things about the Vorpal dagger that I forget what it's called now off the top of my head, but it was made of force, so it couldn't be damaged by like rust monsters and oozes and stuff. Well, the bottle of rum, which is a low B Vorpal, is made of glass, so totally safe to use against rusties and Uzis. And like I said, it's a low B Vorpal with a slot, and it's got some nice stats on it. So I think it's a pretty neat weapon, and I'm actually using it while leveling Voodoo up right now.
Tell me that the cosmetic is a broken bottle.
It is. Oh, you totally look
That's,
like you're in a bar fight.
That's amazing. I did kind of like the diver helmet. I was like, oh, look, it's a diver helmet. That feels very anachronistic. Like, what the hell is a diver? What? Anyways, it's fun, but it was kind of weird. So, the heroic gear. My general thoughts on heroic gear is it's really hard. It's a really difficult space to get into, right? We're talking about like the gear Tetris at higher levels. The gear Tetris at lower levels is while simpler in some sense. Like I'm just not looking to hang on to a bunch of gear, as it were. Having said that, so I do actually have a 5-piece set on my hardcore favor tune, and because the set includes weapons, it fits really well actually into what I have going on there. Not that he has a lot going on, and the set bonus I think in terms of a caster, that 5-piece set is much better than the Ravenloft 5-piece set, even though it's a couple levels earlier. Having said that, I do not expect to really go out of my way to recreate a gear set there. I have a gear set with Feywild, I have a gear set with Ravenloft, and I have a gear set with Sharn. And the thing that I always have to come back to in Heroics is, do I need another gear set in between those spaces? And given how little time I spend in that space, and how many pieces of gear that is versus storage space and, getting those pieces, I just don't see myself really developing a gear set from Isle of Dread.
I think you're spot on there.
And that's not to say that the gear's not good. And there might be a couple of pieces that I pick up. It's definitely Isle of Dread Heroic is definitely into my my leveling progression now. And we did that. I talked about that with my updated leveling guide a couple weeks back. So it's not to say that I might find a piece of gear that will get in there. It's just like I have a complete set at level 5. I have a complete set at
Yep.
level 10.
It's totally overshadowed by Feywild. Feywild, the heroic Feywild's gear set was so masterful.
Yeah.
That Isle of Dread just pales in comparison to it.
Well, and it's not to say that like I think Isle of Dread is an increase over Feywild if I actually ran the numbers and what I was doing. I think I would actually get a better a bump in power. It's just in order to get that bump in power, if I have to keep another 5 pieces, and maybe that does or doesn't work with the Feywild stuff I have and want to keep, and playing that Tetris game, it just doesn't feel like a great use of my time. Is really kind of what it comes down to.
Totally.
I am cruising through heroics. I'm not having it. Okay, I'm just doing R1 and stuff. If I was doing like R10, I might like R10 heroic run or something like that. I might get a little more crazy with getting gear and stuff, but I'm not. So I don't need more power to get through heroics. So I don't need to go grab 6 pieces of new gear and play a Tetris at level 8 when I'm already doing it at 5 and 10. And that's not a knock on the Isle of Dread gear. I think the Isle of Dread gear, like having that on hardcore, has been great. Like the pieces are solid. They work great. They fit into that ecosystem great. I'm really happy with like 3 of the pieces I have. I'm playing a favorite soul in hardcore as my favorite run tune. He's got 3 pieces that are fantastic for him from this set. He's got another one that's kind of meh, and then he's holding a sword to get the 5-piece set that he doesn't need to be holding for any other reason than the 5-piece set. But because it's on a weapon, it makes that gear slotting so much easier to do, which I really like. So, all that to say, I think the heroic gear is really solid, but it's trying to occupy this awkward space of I already have existing gear sets, and I don't need that gear set for running for 2 hours of content, maybe 3. Generally saying if they get more space, might keep some pieces. Yeah, maybe. Still gotta pull it out of the TR cache. So the next thing the TR cache needs is a extract all button. Just start at the top and fill my inventory until you run out of room, and then I'll deal with it, right? That'd be great. Okay. Level cap increase. I want to give some space for level cap increase. How do you feel about the level cap increase?
Well, it's kind of a whisper. I was talking about this earlier this week. You know, I'm I'm ready for a Menace to the Underdark moment in DDO again, where like when we went from 20 to 25, it was a
Yeah.
big triumphant battle cry roar, and when we went from 30 to 32, it seems like it's happening in a whisper. So okay, that was 5 levels. This is 2. I
Mhm.
get it. The team was much bigger. Then I get it. I totally get that the capabilities of SSG may not be where Turbine was in 2012, but that doesn't change the kind of things that I want. It might change my expectations, but I can certainly want more out of Isle of Dread or want more out of my level cap increase into legendary. So it's just kind of the increase to 32 is not, to me, this is not that exciting.
Yeah, I agree, but I do. Here's what I'll say on the positive side. I think when they redid Epic Destinies and all this work that they did, I think they actually did a really good job of laying the groundwork for getting into higher levels. I really like some of the choices they made around this, right? Like the access to that fourth core at 32 was fine. Um, that seemed to work. They were kind of a mixed bag for me, and we talked about that more in depth when they were coming out of Lamania. Um, some of them were, some of them seemed really nice. Some of them were kind of, what is going on here? Why is this a benefit to me? Um, but I like the structure there. I really like the design choice that they made. That you just, when you hit legendary, you get all of your legendary XP back, and straight from 30 to 32. I love that change, and I really want them to bring that to epics because I found that that's just such a more positive gameplay experience for me. Like I could get there, but I wouldn't really be worrying about doing that if I'm doing a bunch of past lives. Just kind of take it as it goes. But being able to go straight from 30 to 32 means I'm actually, we talked about the loot and how it's not like really blowing our socks off, but at the same time, like I'm willing to keep to integrate a couple of those pieces of gear into my TR gear set because I know when I hit 30, I go straight to 32 and can access it at 32.
I think that's only temporary. I mean, that's the impression that I got, that at some point when we get something, call it, let's just for now call it legendary reincarnation, it's not going to be a free leveling experience anymore. You're going to have to
I
level.
think you're only
If,
gonna have to re-level if you do a legendary reincarnation and spend
yeah,
spend the XP.
that's fine. So yeah, so just wanted to mention that part of it. And I also want to say that, it was kind of anticlimactic. Just, it's like, oh, you get core 4 now.
Yeah.
And I want to say that I hope in the future, obviously they're not going to add tier 6 into the main trees. Okay. I hope that what they do is sort of combine some things to make some room higher up there in tier 5 and, maybe add some new stuff like when we go to level 35, for example. That would be cool. Like make space up there so you can add something new for us to grab. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, just adding
As opposed
cores
to
is
just
not
getting every
really
core.
enough, right? Yeah, I hear you there. The the new feats mostly feel a little underwhelming. Like there's a couple there that look interesting and a bunch that are kind of like, are they that useful?
I'll tell you what, those DC caster ones where you're like instantly can get another school up
Yeah,
to par with, with the first
I
one
think
that
that's
you
one
were
of the better
focused
ones.
in. I think that's really great. I think that legendary toughness is really great for people who
Yep,
aren't enthusiastic about all that other stuff. A
yep,
100 hit points, bada bing, bada boom.
yep.
So
There's some good.
yeah,
It's Let me put it this way: the new things that we get are solid, but like you said, when you compared it to going from 2025, it lacks that like, wow, we have this whole new thing going on, right? Because that's when we got Epic Destinies. It was kind of this big deal. So I think that was apt. Or,
now I don't want to say too much. I was on the players council when the first conversation, I'm not on the players council anymore. When the first conversation, I think you were too, about going beyond 30, there was, let's just say, something else. So, maybe their heart was in the right place in that department. And maybe people like me, you know, put a dagger in their heart. I don't know. So maybe I made my bed and now I'm lying in it.
sure. I think the one thing I will say though, it has for a couple of my characters, just having those extra points from the extra 2 levels has really opened up the Destiny spending. I still have complaints about how fast you can get there, but it's not a major structural change, but it is having a meaningful impact of my enjoyment of the system at level 32 of having those extra points. Like it's getting me to have so places like I'm getting more of those things I wanted to get. That makes sense. So that's kind of nice. It feels like I'm making more meaningful some more meaningful choices because like when you have such a limited number of points, and it's like, okay, well, I'm building a tank. I'm going to be putting a lot of points into Unyielding Sentinel. Like, and like that's where the tankiness is. That's where a bunch of the tank stuff that I need is. And then I'm putting points into Fury because of the extended unconscious range, right? It doesn't feel like I get to make a lot of choices because I don't have a lot of points to go around. And moving vertically is a challenge because of the point requirements. 31 into 32 was really that point where I felt a little bit freedom from that and like, okay, I have some points and I get to make some meaningful choices with them now. I don't know if you had a similar experience.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. That I remember us talking about this in a show many months ago about how it just didn't feel like we had that versatility
Mm.
in the new Epic Destiny system because we wanted to spend so many trees in a prime or so many points in a primary Destiny, and there just wasn't enough to get the low hanging fruit in a couple of off Destinies. And how much I miss twists. I will say that I still horribly, horribly, horribly miss Twists of Fate. And I'm not saying I want to go back to that system. I'm just saying I really, really miss them. But it is nice to be able to spend some more points in other trees, no doubt about it. And it definitely makes me feel better about this system. And I know I'm going to feel better about it when we get to level 35 or whatever. And I have, 12, 15 more points to spend.
Yeah. We'll also say I did feel like this level increase landed a lot better because of the bulk of content we had in that space. Like when we went to from 2025 with Menace the Underdark, we basically only had like you had Menace the Underdark and a couple of content packs that had an epic version, right? And there have been times in the past where we've gotten the level cap increase, and it's basically okay. Well, so we need to go run this content into the ground to get there. Whereas here, it felt like we had the content to really get into making leveling not a painful process of repeating a bunch of quests. Um, Also, the XP numbers seem to land really well. Like I think I went from 30 to almost 32 just by running Isle of Dread.
Yep. And that's what they wanted.
So like it's not it didn't get me all the way from 30 to 32, but it did the lion's share of it, which I really appreciated, and that was really nice. If I'd have taken the XP gem instead of some ingredients, it probably would have finished the job, or at least a lot closer. Yeah, I think it's a positive experience, but I think you're right. It does lack that wow factor of. It feels like more of an extension of Epic than it does like I'm now a legendary character. Do you say that's pretty accurate?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Any miscellaneous changes you want to toss out here?
I mean, are we doing any kind of wrap up, letter grade or
Oh
anything
yeah,
like
we'll get to
that?
that. I'm just
Okay.
gonna last. There's usually some miscellaneous things. The only thing that I pulled out was um the expansion teleporty items being consolidated into like pick one and you can use it to cast all of them, which has been great for an inventory standpoint. But there wasn't anything else that really jumped out to me in the release notes.
That teleporty combination thing is great. I really wish they would have found a way to include the D12 and the key to the city Evening Star. I understand their reasoning for it, but still, at the end of the day, I would have liked those included in some
Yeah,
way.
yeah, hear that, hear that. All right, close it out with letter grades and overall thoughts. What do you got?
Well, I'm gonna premise this and say I was looking more forward to Isle of Dread than probably anything in my DDO life. or at least since Menace of the Underdark. I was really, really excited for it. We've been, waiting for it for 3 years when they first said it was going to come out the year that Keep on the Borderlands came out. And, I, might have set myself up for failure in having my hopes set too high. And I talked earlier about the gap between hopes and expectations. I wanted to see more, no doubt about it. I would have loved to seen a lot more, but trying to be realistic, okay, I knew we probably weren't going to get the town of Specularum and any of that mainland or anything like that. But I would like to have had that, but probably not very realistic considering the resources that are there to work with. So aesthetically, like I said, straight A's. I think it is beautiful, and I think that is the highlight. I would have liked to have seen more. I really would have loved to have seen a Slayer Zone that is, probably going on twice as big. I mean, there's some islands off the coast that to me looks like maybe they were going to be part of the Slayer Zone, but then it's just like, oh, you can't get out there. And so I almost feel like it kind of has a little bit of an unfinished feel to it in that regard. So I would have liked to seen a bigger Slayer Zone. I would have liked to have seen 4 more quests that were all direct nods out of the module. So in terms of, if I was going to do letter grade again, aesthetically, A plus. I'm a very tough grader too. I love the way this looks, and I have complained about how like Feywild looks because I feel like it's really washed out. But I love, love, love how Isle of Dread looks. Content wise, I give it a B, and then gear wise, I'd probably give it a C. And at the end of the day, the overall letter grade, and I'm a tough grader, is going to be somewhere B plus range. And like I said earlier, I do think that the raid is probably my favorite raid in the Standing Stone Games era. I do enjoy the raid. I think it looks cool. So yeah, somewhere in the B plus range for me.
Yeah, I think the raid brought it up a notch for me.
Mm-hmm.
A solid notch. Um, Here's where I struggle with kind of coming up with a letter grade for this. On its own, like if I, with blinders on and just looking at Isle of Dread, I think I would probably give it a low A minus, high B plus. Because it's landing in a hole in an ecosystem, and uh that's where like the loot starts to break down a little bit, right? Like it's not blowing me away and competing super well with the gear I already have. Um, right, like, and someone was giving me a little bit of grief about like still using a 5-piece Legendary Shroud set. Yeah, I know. It's it's not Isle of Dread's fault in the sense that like it's coming into this other space, and I think I definitely have to with the loot put in like and recognize my own bias of like how much work do I want to put into redoing my entire gear Tetris to get that 5+1s, right? Um, and the answer is I don't really want to do a lot of that. It feels a little too worky for me, and I want to just have fun and blow stuff up. So I think I kind of end up in the B minus B area, like closer to B, a low B, we'll say. Not quite to B minus. Um, it's got really great content. Like I said, the aesthetic. I think you're spot on. The aesthetic is the highlight of this content pack. It looks really sharp, and I hope we get to see more of this aesthetic later. I hope we get to see more T-Rexes and some of the bigger dinosaurs. I hope those continue to be part of the landscape going forward. And I'll just throw this out as someone who's doing 2 groups of Tomb of Annihilation. That this is really great groundwork for Tomb of Annihilation as a content, as a place to go content wise. So I don't know if I'll get that wish, but that's what I'm kind of going for. All right, we're gonna close out the show. Voodoo, why don't you plug your stuff again?
Sure, you can find me streaming every weekday at DDO morning show that we call Good Morning Coffee and Chat, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern. We talk about DDO. We keep each other company. We drink coffee. We share a few laughs. And we do a lot of past life grinding and legendary Reaper XP questing. You can find me streaming raids on Thursday. I think that's going to change to Friday night. And then I stream to DDO stream. That's DDO's Twitch channel for a late morning show at 11 a.m. on Saturday. You can find me on YouTube as well, where I have over 1,000 DDO videos, quest walkthroughs, raid guides, crafting tutorials, and so much more.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Voodoo, for joining me. Thanks for the folks listening, especially the live folks. Had a really fun chat today. Really great interaction there. Thanks for contributing to the show, folks. Thanks to all the folks who contribute to DDOcast, Voodoo for hanging out all morning here. Staying Some Games with the Coast, and Cybers for hosting the podcast. If you'd like to support the show, you can visit our website at DDOcast.com, or you can support us on Patreon. If you have a DDO-themed webpage, or you Twitch DDO and you'd like to be featured on our website, you can email us at DDOcast@gmail.com. You can also hit us up at DDOcast.com for our show notes, MP3s, our calendar, previous shows, and other fun stuff, including some DDO adventures and D&D tabletop. If you have a comment on this episode, a question you'd like to hear us answer, a topic you'd like to hear us discuss, or you just want to say hi, leave us your comment, your thoughts on Isle of Dread, all that fun stuff. Leave a comment or email us at DDOcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on social media and follow us for the latest cast updates at DDOcast on Twitter is the best place. So may all your attack rolls be crits, all your chest level be level appropriate. Have fun, and don't forget to gather for us.